Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of the Remote Tribe podcast. I'm Andrew Williams, the founder of Remote Tribe. We are a digital nomad community, a newsletter, and a blog, and we help with people going remotely with a lot of information about visas and travel tips and all that stuff. And we're at the third edition now with Ryan Mendonca. He is also a digital nomad fellow and a lawyer as well, and we're talking digital nomad businesses, businesses that can be done remotely from anywhere in the world. And we're trying to unravel basically what these businesses mean. And this in this edition, we have some other interesting ones for you. We've got three other businesses, and I will let Ryan introduce himself now as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. Happy to be here once again for another session. My name is Ryan Mendonca, and I'm the digital nomad lawyer, revolutionizing legal services for startups and digital nomads. I spend time between Goa, Dubai, and Porto, and I primarily work with startups, founders located in the US, Africa, the UAE, and India. I'm a corporate IP lawyer, and I have a keen eye for detail, help businesses with everything from drafting contracts, structuring your corporate entities, managing their intellectual property, and of course, navigating them through the legalities of their operations. I'm happy to be here, as I said before, and looking forward to deciphering and making sure that all of you digital nomads or potential digital nomads can kind of discuss these businesses that are very remote friendly. So let's get into the show.
Absolutely, let's go. So it's really good to have you, Ryan, because maybe you can also give us an insight into what does it mean to set up these businesses. So, for example, having like a YouTube account and how you can pull the money out from that account, paying taxes and so on and so forth. So I'm really excited to see a legal perspective on that as well. So today we've chosen three businesses. The first one is the YouTube channel, which is the kind of the golden nugget for everyone out there. Everyone wants to monetize the YouTube channel. It's really really big and huge at the moment. Obviously, TikTok is a really good contender at the moment, but YouTube is still king. Then we've got podcasts. Again, they gained popularity in the last few years because people discovered that they can use their free time to make use of that and listen to an interesting dialogue between two people, and learning from that. And then the third business we chose that can be done remotely, obviously, is digital products, which is a no-brainer. Again, very popular these days, anything from books to audio to video creation and so on and so forth. So we're going to go through them. Me and Ryan have ranked this. One is easy and five is difficult. So this means that it's either easy or it takes less time to do that task, and five it means that it's difficult or expensive or a time consumer. So let's start. I'm going to start with the YouTube channel. We've recently opened up a YouTube channel as well, and I can tell you it's not easy. So I've ranked the cost or capital needed to two, because it doesn't really cost you anything to start a channel. However, obviously there's really really high competition, and what I want to mention straight off the bat is that YouTube is a long game, a very long game, because it's going to take you probably at least 6 months until Google and YouTube starts noticing your content, and you're going to be engaged in that recommendation engine, and that's the key basically. And also it's more also about optimizing the captions and using hashtags. We'll discuss about that. But Ryan, so I think we agreed here that the cost of starting a YouTube channel is
It's super
low,
low. Yeah.
super low.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Because you
mhm.
don't need all of the infrastructure like, fancy mic, fancy, recording studio or any of these sorts of things, right? Especially when it can also, and this is what I found interesting, be video that's been created with AI or video that's been created off of like multiple other accounts or things of that nature, and you've gotten a collaboration, right? And there are various ways of doing YouTube, right? It does not have to be with your face or with content that
faceless channels
you
are very popular, agree, yeah.
exactly. And it doesn't even have to be with content that you've gone out and created, right? Like video content. It can be music, right? So a lot of people that enjoy music feel like they have a keen eye for people's taste. They can just go up, make playlists, Those playlists get played a lot, sometimes in the background, whether it's study music, sleep music, meditation music that's been popping up very, very big off of recently, and it goes for a long number of hours, so you have a high watch time, which gets your payments higher, and or like the commission that you get from YouTube higher. So there are multiple ways in which it can be absolutely zero in terms of actual cost of capital. But
Yeah,
yeah, time and
fully.
effort is a lot.
Yeah, yeah, agree. Yeah, absolutely. So I think we agree on both. I want to add something to the cost or capital. So obviously there are multiple options. Like you can film with your phone, you can get like a second-hand camera, which is about maybe 200 bucks, a good camera. Obviously the smartphone is, you already have that. You can buy a gimbal just to balance your phone, for example, and looks really nice and smooth. You can buy an external microphone, which is again very cheap. Maybe it's like 20, 30 bucks. So you can have a mini studio with maybe 200 dollars or euros. Then the other thing that you mentioned, and I really like that, and it's really popular and easier. It's getting easier and easier. Is the AI content. So you can either use stock footage that you can buy or get from for free from websites like Pexels or Pixabay. And then the other option is AI video, which is just starting, so it's quite difficult to do like really good quality ones at the moment. But I think that's going to explode in the next few years. However, you can overlay AI voice, so AI generated voice, which is extremely accurate and very pleasant to the ear. And basically, you can just give the AI the script, then you can overlay that over the stock videos, and then you've got yourself a faceless channel, right? So here
Yeah.
you go, and that only takes you time. Most of these tools, either they're free or very very cheap. I mean, maybe the AI voice recorder or AI synthesizer is like it's gonna cost you maybe like, I don't know, 15 bucks for the credits per month or something like that. So
Yeah.
again, very accessible. I think the costs are negligible for anyone, really.
No, you're very true on that.
And for the time and effort, yeah, I think I did mention this at the beginning of the discussion that it does take a lot of time. One, to create the videos if you want to do long format videos, and Google likes that, YouTube likes that. Then second of all, you have to edit that, which is the annoying part. I really don't like doing that. And I mean, obviously, if you're a designer or like a video guy, you're gonna enjoy that. But there is you need to edit the video, put some background music, maybe some some videos between the scenes, and remove the filling words and stuff like that. So that's time, and then obviously recording all the stuff. You need a lot of content for YouTube to start considering you, as I said. So definitely, if you want to start the channel, you need to be consistent, and you do need to spend time recording. I don't know if you have side gigs or not, if you have full-time jobs. It will take you, a few hours per week. I would say at least 5 hours per week to maybe like 2 videos, in my experience. If you want to do short videos, it's kind of faster, but still you have to add music, you have to edit the videos on the phone, which is annoying. So even short videos can take up to 45 minutes or an hour to edit. So it's not really that simple.
Yeah, for me, I think that the time besides what you mentioned, right, which is actually creating the video and editing the video,
Yeah,
is also going into with regards to, ideating or brainstorming what type of content, what type of niche you want to get into,
very good
and
point.
also finding out evergreen content, right? Evergreen content is not something that's topical at the moment, like, for example, creating videos around situations that are happening, right, or reading up the news. Those things will go out of, you won't continually get views for those things. But if you create content that is something that people are going to search, whether it's now, 5 years from now, 15 years from now, or whatever the case is, right? Like, especially when I feel for music and for like travel, and speaking for digital nomads, right? If you're creating digital nomad travel vlogs and things like that, people will want to, figure out what are the great things to check out in Vietnam or
Yeah.
Bali or, Cairo or wherever, right? At any point in the near future.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing is that you've got competition. So whilst you're producing the videos, other people are producing them as well. And as you said, there is a very strategic approach to a YouTube channel if you want to do it right. Again, if you want to do it right, it's very important because you have to treat it with seriousness. because obviously you're spending a lot of time in editing all these videos. It can be frustrating, and it's a lot of time and effort. So you want to make sure that if you start, you're pretty dedicated to the process. And another thing is you want to be strategic about this one. So for example, you want to look at, there's some tools that can help you identify what are the competitive keywords on YouTube, and then you want to create your content and also the caption and the hashtag around those keywords. For example, if you're talking about travel in Vietnam, use these tools, see what are the most popular videos about Vietnam travel, but also which are not very competitive, and then you can go in with your video and cover that niche and demand. So have this strategic approach towards YouTube, because it's going to pay off long term.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Time to break even, Ryan. I'll let you start. You put a 5 here, and I think we'll again agree.
Yeah, I think the time to break even is high because a not only do you need to create a lot of videos, right? But you eventually, the only time when you can start monetizing is after you've reached a certain number of followers, a certain number of watch time, and so on and so forth,
Yeah,
right?
I can give a
And
few
even
details about that, Ryan. Sorry to interrupt.
yeah, please.
So, for example, to start making for money from ad revenue, you need about 1,000 subscribers and 10 million eligible public short views in the last 90 days. So, 10 million is a lot, guys. It's a lot. You basically have to pump a few short videos per day to reach that number, or you can have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 valid public watch video hours on long form format to start monetizing. Just to start monetizing. So I've been talking to a lot of people and friends. I wanted to start a few other channels, but everyone wants money now and today, and a lot of people are not willing to do the long game, and you're never gonna win with that mentality. So I always say long game, and yeah, sure, try to attract sponsors as soon as possible, but if you want to get paid by Google, it's gonna take a lot of time. So Ryan, take it away.
Yeah, so that's that, right? And again, getting sponsorships is also going to take time because you need to have a good following. You need to be in a
Exactly.
high income, high spending content
Market.
niche,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, exactly, right? So, for example, if you're creating content around, let's say, second passports, second citizenships, golden visas, those are very high income. If it's regarding, any sort of skills like, teaching how to do no code, for instance, and things like that, then that's a high income skill. So those are, and you can have referrals to people's, workshops and things like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
So
there
those
are
are great
few,
things.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. So obviously we're gonna break even faster. So if you insert affiliate links into your captions, if you are selling high tickets again through affiliate via that video, and if you have a sponsor, that's gonna make your break even time quicker, faster. So there are other ways, but if you purely want to monetize from YouTube, advertising is gonna take us some time. So maybe you want, whilst you're doing these videos, you want to put your attention on finding a sponsor and also inserting this kind of high ticket links inside the caption of your video, so people, but obviously they have to be related to your content so people actually find them useful and improve their lives.
Yeah, because you can do ad revenue, you can do sponsored
Yeah.
videos, and you can do like referral links.
Referral affiliate links in the
Yeah,
description. Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, these are the ways to monetize. Obviously, you can get leads from those videos, so you can send people to your website and then nurture those leads. Like if you're selling any kind of service or products, they will find you, and maybe you can also get some online leads to your website from the YouTube channel. It's a very common thing. So as you can see, we already mentioned 4 types of different revenue for YouTube, and it's looking really good. But again, you have to stay for a while in the game. Scalability. I put 2 here. You put 4. I'm really curious to hear why you've put 4, Ryan.
Yeah. So I've been watching a few videos on how some of the 1% on YouTube have scaled, right? So what they've done is they've gone ahead and videos that have performed well or have maybe not performed as well as they would have liked, they've just gone ahead, changed the title, changed the thumbnail, tweaked it, right? It's not something that is to a certain degree set in stone, right? The video definitely is going to be there, right? But you
Yeah,
can always change the video's thumbnail to garner better views, and at the same time, in with regards to scaling, you can always go into other languages, right? Because if you see the actual population of the world that speaks English, and if you're making English speaking content, right, it is very minimal in comparison to, for example, Spanish, French, other leading languages, right?
Yeah.
So if you use AI, or B, use an actual translator that will do a voiceover of your videos, then you can scale to a much larger audience, right?
Yeah, that's a
Those
very
are the two
interesting
ways
point.
I felt that somebody can really scale their YouTube channel, and that's just with the same absolutely not created
Videos.
new videos,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's a very good point. I never thought of that. But yeah, in theory, you could translate your videos with AI now, and I think they might be looking and sounding very good with the advancements we have at the moment. So why not? And yeah, that's a good point. I had a different approach, and that's good. So I was thinking about obviously putting out videos because in my experience, again, it takes a lot of time. So it's not really. I wouldn't say it's hard to scale, but it's not easy either. It depends also on the content. If you want to do a lot of short contents, that's going to take you less time. So you can have a strategy where you focus more on short content, and that's more scalable, I would say. But the long term videos, the long format videos, I think they're harder to scale. And you can't really skip that process. You do have to put the work in. Obviously, yeah, you can still use AI videos and the stock videos, but still you have to edit those ones and add text on top of that. So it will take you time to scale. That's what I've read, and that's what I felt in my experience.
No, that's definitely true. And I think ultimately what happens is patience is the key, right? So whether it's about the time to create the video, the time to create edits and create the content and all of the items that go into launching that video, and then later on putting more firepower behind it. You can even sometimes get sponsored videos, or you can sponsor your own video, right, with people that are inside your circle, right? You can
Yeah,
have so it gives the impression, right, that your video is sponsored, and that way somebody else, when they're seeing that, will say that, hey, so and so brand sponsoring this video, maybe I should make an inquiry. So those are
absolutely.
interesting ways in which you can kind of hack around and get a sponsor deal.
Yeah, yeah, that why not? Why not? I think the last one on the list was the monthly revenue, and we both agree here that it does take time, and it's not really a gold mine initially, at least. So you will have to wait, and the revenue will sum up from all these sources we've mentioned, like advertisement payments from YouTube, then affiliate marketing and sponsors. So yeah, it can sum up, but you really have to be a popular guy or girl on the internet to monetize the channel. Is not really that easy, so it will take you probably, I would say at least 2 years to start being popular if you're doing the right thing, the right keywords, quality content, and so on. So yeah, keep up the work, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. It'll take a long time to reach the monthly revenues that you would have liked for your YouTube channel, and I think it's only once you become an actual YouTuber. This is not a side hustle. This is not a AI generated videos that you're gonna keep pumping out. If this is your profession day in, day out, you become a YouTuber, so to speak, then I think, and of course, if you're doing, as Andrew mentioned, all the right things, right? That's only the time when your monthly revenue can be, super high. And of course, the potential is huge, right? But it's for that 1% of the 1%, right?
Exactly. So it can be easy for, because we both put a two here. So it can be easy if you're really sticking to it and doing the right thing, but it can also be a five if you're not being serious about it and you're not going to target the 1% to be in there, because obviously it's kind of a winner takes it all market, unfortunately. So you either make it or you don't make it. If you make it, you can make a lot of cash, and if you don't make it, you're probably going to be making a few tens of bucks, which is nothing. So that's what I'm saying. You want to treat it seriously and play the long game, because if you make it and you're serious about it, you might go up in that 10%, but you have to do it right. So it's kind of a catch 22 depending on your approach.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ryan, in your experience, let's talk about the legal bit now. Like, I guess you had clients that have YouTube channels and they're content creators on Instagram and
Yeah.
so on and so forth. How do they take the money out of the platform and how do they pay taxes on that?
So that's fairly simple because most of the clients that I have that do social media in general, right? They've created a business entity, and all of them have linked their paid accounts or their accounts that feedback from ad revenue into
Yeah.
that business account, right?
All right. Is it
And
like a
all of
bank
that is
account or a PayPal that
yep.
you have to put into Google?
Absolutely, yeah. So
Okay.
they've linked that way, and the other way that they've done it is they've created just personal accounts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So their personal bank accounts might be linked, right? Because sometimes they don't necessarily, it does not necessarily make sense for them to show this as a business income, right?
Yeah.
Because it gets complicated with where's your business registered, where's your income source of income coming from, because it's not directly coming from the U.S., for example,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
your ad revenue is basically dispersed from like either Google's entity in Ireland or Facebook's entity in like Costa Rica or somewhere, right?
Correct.
So it's going to become complicated and it'll get over time difficult to explain it to the taxman, whichever taxman that is, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes people, especially because of their maybe nationality or citizenship or residency, things of those natures, they've gone out and figured that it's best let me just keep it in my personal and not have it get so complicated with my business income, right?
Yeah, especially if they live in a country where paying the personal tax, the capital gain tax or whatever,
Is
the
low,
personal
yeah,
tax is low. Exactly. So
yeah,
absolutely it makes sense to do that if you live in a country with low taxes. Sure,
right.
personal income tax low.
Because a
Yeah.
lot of people, clients of mine, they've gone out and gotten like either a residency in a low tax jurisdiction, or they have a golden visa or permanent residency at a jurisdiction that keeps their tax personal tax
So
bracket at
so
a very low level.
exactly. So it will make sense to go through a company, do more accountancy there, and then pay yourself into that country, right?
That's right.
Awesome. Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Ryan. A lot of good things discussed here, and I hope we gave our viewers already a good start.
I
Let's
think
go to yeah. Go ahead.
one
Sorry.
more thing that I would like to mention about YouTube, right, is with regards to people saying that they get copyright strikes, right? So
Yeah.
that's something that's important to make sure that you take a look at and make sure that that isn't getting infringed upon, right? So the content that you do create is your own generic content.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, unfortunately, sometimes you have to be very careful what you're saying if you're going deep into politics and all those things. So also, yeah, watch the script and watch what you're saying in some cases. Unfortunately, if you're into politics or news and stuff like that, it can be tricky. So just look out for those strikes and try to understand what works and what doesn't. Sure. The second one on our list was podcast, which is a very, very interesting one because I've got a few theories about that, but basically, yeah, podcasts are audio recordings that you do, and then you'll just share them on channels like Spotify or iTunes and so on and so forth, and then people obviously listen to them there. And there are quite a few good ones from all the industries, and they're very very useful. I personally like a lot of them from the business and entrepreneurship, psychology, and also self improvement. So you can find anything you want there. And a lot of people are asking themselves, how do you monetize all these podcasts? So Ryan, what's your experience with monetizing podcasts, and what have you heard in the market?
So I think with regards to podcasts, it's very similar to the YouTube monetization because one is you have sponsorships. Two is, of course, when you put your videos or your podcast, whether it's audio, video, or a mix of both, it'll most likely be on a platform that is monetizing and having ads, whether it's Amazon, Apple, or even Spotify
Do
for that
do they
matter.
pay you for number of listeners?
So you'll have for number of listeners, and you'll have also a separate for ads that are going to be
Okay.
in your video, in your
Okay. So that's
podcast,
one
right?
stream already. Okay.
So that's one stream. Then you can get it sponsored, so that's another stream. You can also have referral links towards like equipment that you use or services that you're, let's say, interviewing somebody from a certain business. So you can have referral links to their business or their products, and those are various ways in which I would say that you can um, monetize it, right? And I think the last and most convenient and I would say to a certain degree easiest way to do it is just have a fee to pay for people that would want to come onto your show, especially if it's an interview based show, right? So
Mm-hmm.
people can, that way you're putting them on a pedestal that, oh, somebody's come on like a podcast or somebody's come on, so and so show, and it's actually a paid promotion for them, but nobody else knows, right? So you can
Yeah.
have that.
Yeah, I think that's the most common source of revenue for a lot of
And
podcasts.
easiest, because you
Easiest
don't
as
have to
well.
wait for somebody else to come and sponsor you, or you don't have to wait for somebody else to come and kind of give you, that money.
Exactly. You're doing cold approach on businesses that could show up and could benefit from being on your show. And then obviously they're willing to pay some of them are willing to pay a fee to be there. The others is yeah, just looking for companies. So you either bring the guest in or you can look for companies that want to be mentioned for like a minute in your ads, like the ad that you create. And that's another stream I would say. And then I think another benefit that people overlook is the personal branding. That's very important because and a lot of people are doing that for branding and for personal branding as well, because they know. I mean, it's extremely competitive again, and it's kind of a complement to their business. And if people hear, it's basically just another channel. And if they have a weekly podcast where they bring guests and they talk about topics and people hear about them, then they will also check the brand, and also that person will appear as an expert. So a lot of people are doing that as a branding exercise, which is great. They're not necessarily in for the money, but they're in for growing the brand and growing their personal worth, basically. Yeah,
because it expands your digital presence. It
exactly.
makes you very relatable. You are not behind the camera. You're in front of the camera speaking, explaining your expertise or your field of knowledge, and it lets add to your credibility, especially if you're in the service business.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we both agree that the cost is low and it's obvious. You need a good microphone, maybe a camera if you want to do a video podcast, and that's it really. And then just a lot of work and approaching people to be on your show, like we're doing here, and or approaching people to or companies to become a sponsor in your podcast, right? The same with time and effort. I think we agree here that it's kind of the same with YouTube. I'm not sure which one is harder to do and where you have to spend more time. I would say maybe you have to spend less time with podcasts if you're just recording because you've got some tools like the crypt or the script where they remove the filling words and you can actually cut and paste and delete some scenes. So the script is a really, really good tool. Gonna leave a link in the description to edit this podcast. And basically, yeah, it's. I think it's easier overall to just pump up this podcast instead of videos because with video editing you have to do a bit more editing. I believe. What's your take on that, Ryan?
So I wouldn't be able to comment too much on the time it takes to video edit and things like that and the tools, but I do know using AI, whichever medium you're choosing to use it for, is just going to accelerate and make everything so much more quicker and faster, right? It's just about taking the time, taking the effort to find the right tool for you, right? I
Agreed.
think for me, where the time and effort comes in to be like a big investment is finding the right people to come on your show, or and that's if it's going to be an interview based show, because you'll constantly be in that rigmarole of finding the next person and the next person, and scheduling their time with yours, because you have to do this, if it's not in person, right, it becomes slightly easier. But if it is in person, I mean, if it is virtually, then it's much more easier, and you just have to figure out the right time and date. The other part is, if you have like what we're doing right here, which is we being constant, it makes it slightly less time consuming, because you don't have to keep finding new, podcast guests or
Yeah.
people like that to be on the show, right? It's just you and me. We hit up each other. We set up. Okay, this is the time we go, and we're ready to
That's
record.
also a time consumer, like finding guests and also finding good guests because you have to
Yeah,
cold approach a lot of people. So also mind that.
exactly. And you have to already have a good enough dossier of videos already up for people to watch and like and feel that they can relate and want to be on the show as well, right?
Exactly. I usually send people the link to my channel, and they have a look through my videos, and most of the
Yeah,
times they agree because we're spot on, right?
right.
So absolutely. And the time to break even here, I think we both agree is difficult because again, maybe with audio is even more difficult because it's a channel where you don't actually see other people chatting, we just hear them. So having getting a sponsor, you first need to build that audience, and that's kind of it's written in stone already for most of the people. Most of the people should know that audience is king now. So first of all, you need an audience to advertise to. So you don't have if you don't have that audience built, then obviously you can't show the numbers to your advertiser, to the client, and it's going to be very hard to convince them to come on your show and sponsor that. I mean, do you have any clients, Ryan, that have this issue, or how did they deal with that initially?
So I have a few clients that run podcasts, but most of them do it as a side hustle.
Yeah,
And the ones that do it as a side hustle, their main goals of generating revenue or breaking even is, one, getting a sponsor for an entire season, right, or half a season. Second is to make sure that they get somebody who's coming on the show is paying to be on the show, so that's a second revenue stream. And most of them, because they're still small, they don't really care about the ad revenue and if they're getting anything. The third way that they do monetize is by referral and affiliate links. So
yeah.
sometimes it's to where they're the location where they're shooting, right? Because sometimes they're shooting at a recording studio, right? Other times it's towards where they have source their music, whether it's copyright free music and things like that. So they have sign up and referral links. People get maybe first 5 songs for free and things like that. So they create these referral revenue streams for the people that come watch their video and say, hey, I would really like to do that, or maybe this mic would be something that I would want to purchase, and so on and so forth. So they
Yeah,
help it
I
out
mean,
that way.
yeah, absolutely. So referral links is still a big thing also for podcasts. Like I see a lot of referral links into the Spotify description, for example. People are saying anything from vitamins to services and other things like physical products. And yeah, I mean it's kind of the same way of monetizing. What would you say, Ryan, is the difference between a podcast monetization and the YouTube one? Because they're very similar, right?
Yeah, so the way I see it, the only difference is paying to be on the show, right? Because
Yeah,
uh, in terms of YouTube, unless the whole YouTube channel is about a talk show, for example, right? Only then, which is most likely, it's going to be a podcast that's on YouTube primarily, right? For example, like the Logan Paul's Impulsive show, right?
yeah.
Well, I'm not 100% sure if people pay to be on that show, but as of now, it's a really highly watched show, and we need to kind of factor that it could be something that they're getting paid for people to be on their show.
Yeah, I see. Okay,
But
interesting.
other than that, YouTube videos just to be created don't really get people don't pay to be on those videos.
Yeah, yeah. Most of the times they don't. So because like YouTube kind of has another way of kind of other revenue streams. Like the affiliate links work very well. You can also have like buttons inside the video, so you can sell from there. It's slightly different. Whilst if you're on Spotify, you basically have to go in the description, see if it's something there. It's not really that. There's not so many call to actions in Spotify, I would say, or iTunes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And with regards to scalability, my reasons are the same for this with regards to YouTube, because you can get into, subtitling, having different languages, and basically reaching a wider audience. And at the same time, if you wanted to scale, you can scale it deeper within that same niche, right? Like, for example, we're doing about travel, right? You can
Hmm.
go into second passports, you can go into like the legalities of setting up businesses for digital nomads. There's multiple topics that digital nomads or people that travel frequently would like to know, right? And you can get into various subtopics or sub niches, if you will.
Yeah, that's true. And also, if I think about it, you can also take the audio from a YouTube podcast or for something like we're doing right now, and then you can transform that into an audio podcast, and you can scale that. So basically, you don't have to double the work. You can just reuse the material that you have and
Yeah,
maybe edit that a bit and put it on Spotify. So I think actually it's more scalable than I thought initially. All right.
absolutely.
And for revenue, Ryan, I'm curious why you've put a four here. You said it's difficult. So what are your main reasons for that?
No, so when I say four, it's four is in a higher income in terms
Okay.
of monthly revenue versus it being a low income, which would have been one. So four, I feel that with regards to podcasts, once you've really found your mix, right, then you have these 4 or 5 revenue streams. It's not just the one or two, right, which is the ad revenue. So you have 4 or 5 revenue streams, and they're consistent to a certain degree, right? Like
Yeah.
once you have a sponsored season, you're getting, let's say $1,000 per episode, for example, right? Or whatever the amount is, right?
Yeah.
So that can be quite consistent. And if you're pumping out, let's say, a season every month or every quarter, right? That can be a sizable income just from your sponsorships on the season.
You're right. You're right. I mean, it does make sense. So basically, you can hit a good ticket there. You can hit a good sale, and that can last you for maybe like 2 months in terms of revenue. So you don't actually need a lot of sponsors, maybe,
Yeah,
and then you can insure yourself with a nice revenue. Whereas with YouTube, there's a lot of hit and miss, I would say. Yeah.
exactly. And it's very variable based off of your actual views.
Hmm. Cool. We only have 10 minutes left, Ryan. So let's move on to the last one, which is my favorite, and that's
Awesome.
digital products. I have a feeling that's your favorite. That's your favorite business as well. I will tell you why it's one of my favorite businesses because I mean you can go in so many niches and you can do so many digital products. It's basically the options are endless. And I would advise people to start with this. Start trying selling a digital product to one audience and test that market. So it can be anything from white papers to books to ebooks, PDFs. It can be Notion templates. It can be almost anything that's digital, but also most of them you can also like do in real life. So you can print them out. You can sell them as offline items. So Ryan, what's your experience with that? Because I know you're also a big fan of this kind of products. And I mean,
Yeah.
what kind of products do you see that are very successful, but they can also be printed offline and sold offline?
So I think things with regards to education, with regards to productivity, with regards to children, for example, these are various niches that I find really like speak to me and are scalable or are things that can do really, really well. For example, a daily calendar or a planner, especially
Brain
now that we're,
maps.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially now that we're at New Year's, this is a perfect time. People are, looking to plan things and make their calendars for 2024. So those are something that are topical as of right now. But at the same time, if people want to make flashcards or cue cards to learn things, to explain things to kids, whether it's teachers or parents or kids for themselves, right? So those are things that I feel are super super easy and fun to make, and anything in regards to you're selling to the younger generation, right? Is going to be something that you will have repeat customers, right? You'll be able to create a community, right? Like for example, let's say you're creating flashcards over like maths and science and let's say alphabets and whatever, right? Those are things that if you, for example, drop those links to your Etsy page in, let's say, mom's Facebook groups or WhatsApp channels and things like that, you can get very, very high traffic just with that one link being sent.
And you can also upsell. What's cool that you can actually upsell the physical product. So let's say you can sell like a digital book, but then also if people want the printed book, a lot of people prefer that. You can
Yeah,
actually talk to a publisher or like a printing company, and then also publish that and send that for an extra payment, which is great.
absolutely. Yeah. Like I had a friend of mine who recently published a book, and she had like it was a female lead, and some people said that why don't you have where the cover of the book, the person's face can be customized, so that's personalized your book, right? So instead of the original cover person's photo, if you wanted to just drop your photo, and then that kind of makes it your book, right? Even if you're not the author, it shows like, hey, you're on that book, right? So
Yeah,
it's a
that reminds me of
cool
yeah,
souvenir.
yeah. Go ahead,
It's
sir.
a topic. It's a conversation starter.
Absolutely. It reminds me of a very successful business in the UK I've heard about a few years ago where kids would create or parents would create their own stories, and basically the kid would be the hero of that story. So basically you would be reading to the child his own story, which is really cool. So they can be part of the story,
Yeah,
which is a fantastic idea. And it was a very successful business at that time.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I think we both agree that it's definitely a low time and effort. So especially with AI now, you can create a lot of digital content, including books and products and maps and stuff like that. So it's getting easier and easier. You can mass produce almost all these things. Obviously, you wanna pay attention to the
Yeah,
brand, and also you still need some manual intervention, even though you use a lot of AI. So you do the
yeah.
things right,
I think where
and
we
mhm,
differ is on scalability,
yeah.
right? So you're saying it's easy to scale,
No, I would say
is
it's
what
difficult to scale, in my
difficult
opinion.
scale.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
So I don't know if you agree here. What's your take on that?
So I would say it's not very scalable. I think unless and of course you've created a community and you go deeper and wider in that niche is the only time when you can scale. Otherwise, most people are going to do one, two, three, maybe a max of five different types of digital products, and that'll be it, right? So unless and until you found a niche and you can keep pumping out more pieces, more digital products in that same niche is when you can really scale. I feel so.
Yeah, for me, it's a difficult one because you have to create a quality product for people to want it. I believe it doesn't have to be like super detailed necessarily, but you do want to, again, if you're using AI, you want to make sure that it makes sense. You want to overlook that, give it a read, and you have to do that for every product basically. And you also have to update these digital products because some of them have an expiry date. Like if you're doing a top trending places to visit, for example, an ebook like that, every year you have to update that, so that will take time to do. And then also, again, if you're creating if you really want to, I think, do a good job, you have to spend time and look at the details. And if you want to do that, if you have to do that, you can't really scale because obviously your time is limited. If you want to hire people, that's something else, but it's going to cost you money. So probably this is like a solo business, and it will take time for you to come up with the ideas and create the creatives for the book, for example, for the others, and so on and so forth. So I think it does take time to scale. Obviously, if you're transforming this into a bigger business, then you're going to hire people, and it's definitely much scalable. As a solo person, again, you have limited time and you want to do quality things. So I think it's hard to scale. So you want to focus on a few good products.
No, absolutely. And then in terms of monthly revenue, I think, it's going to be very, very difficult to have something that's sustainable and that's, always recurring, because it really depends on how well you market your digital products and how much in demand they are and how relevant it is
Well,
to the current
exactly.
situation.
Yeah, current situation and also on your audience. Like you can definitely sell it on Gumroad, so the audience is already there in
Yeah.
the store. However, people have to hear about that and also rate it. So you need a starting point, and that's really difficult if you don't already have an audience. A lot of people are selling digital products like Notion templates and books and ebooks and even physical things on Gumroad. So that's a good place to start. Have a look. However, yeah, it is. I think it is difficult to monetize if you don't have that audience. You need to sell it to someone, right? So you've seen people on Twitter that have maybe 20K followers, 30K, 50K, and they're selling their books for maybe like $40. And yeah, that's a good business. But until you build that audience, it's gonna take time.
No, for sure.
Awesome. I think this was it. So I hope people found this useful, and I think we touched on some really good points. Again, if I would be beginning right now with a digital business, I would definitely go for digital products first, and then maybe have the YouTube channels as a side thing, and do maybe a few videos a week just for fun, and have no expectations for the next year or so. But I would be definitely pumping a lot of interesting digital books, maybe, and there's so many topics and niches you can look into, so you can create these books and test the market, and also, yeah, start building that audience maybe on Twitter or wherever your audience is. If you're creating, for example, a book for kids, maybe that's YouTube, or maybe that's Facebook, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think these three businesses that we've talked about are very very well interlinked because you can have your
Exactly.
podcast, you can refer or create your own digital products and pump them or sponsor them through this podcast or talk about them on that podcast, and at the same time publish it on YouTube, and now you've created your own YouTube channel, and it's all very, very interlinked. So I'm glad we
Correct.
chose and decided to pick these three. But I think what we're going to struggle with is because now we've covered, I believe, if I'm not wrong,
9.
9 businesses over the 3 episodes. So feel free, if you're listening, you're a digital nomad, if you've been doing any sort of businesses that we haven't had the chance to cover, and you'd like to have us explore that and basically do a breakdown of that, please leave it in the comments below. Any suggestions that you think we should check out and discuss.
Absolutely, and I'm happy we chose these three because they're also easy to start and with a low entry barrier from a cost perspective. It's almost free. Like everyone has a computer and a smartphone these days, so you don't really have to invest much into starting these businesses. So start as soon as possible. Have fun. Start your side hustle, or if you have some spare time, if you're in between jobs, start doing this for a few months, and then continue doing this whilst you're employed or having a freelance contract, because probably it will pay off at one point if you keep doing it. So thanks a lot for being next to us. We're happy to give you this kind of tips, and we're happy you're with us all the time. We're going to leave some links in the description to Remote Tribe and to YVLC Legal, and we'll see you in the next show. It was great to have you, Ryan, again.
Same here. Thanks for having me.
See you soon,
Cheers.
guys. Take care.